Hello and welcome to the channel. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. I'm glad you're here. And in this episode today, this is going to be the third episode in the Great Guitar Build Off 22 kit build entry, for which I will be working on the body of this Crimson Uncut kit that I have. We're going to do a little bit of sanding, so buckle up for that exciting time and enjoy the rest of this video. Alright, so we begin with using the bandsaw to cut out the design, which you saw a little bit of the design that I was going for in the first episode. Here, once I was happy with the design as I had it, I went ahead and cut it out on the bandsaw. And one of the great things about getting an uncut kit like this is the opportunity to have offcuts. And I really put those offcuts to use in the headstock, which you saw earlier, and in figuring out how I wanted the stain to look as well. So here I'm just trying to trace out or draw out the shape of what I want the neck heel to look like, what carve I'm sort of looking for across the body. I purposely left it uncarved until I could, or not even drawn on, until I could see what it looked like with the neck in there. So after having drawn that and cut it out on the bandsaw, which I skipped, we move back to more sanding. And here I'm just using a spindle sander to smooth out the edges of the body. The bandsaw leaves a lot of marks and uneven cuts, and so this, having a spindle sander, really makes it faster to smooth out some of those markings. And here, you can see a faint line there where I want the belly carve, or comfort carve, call it whatever you'd like. And I start to go in with the Shinto rasp. Again, not great technique, but I think I mentioned in a previous episode this isn't the proper technique, and maybe it isn't, but do whatever feels comfortable. And in regards to feeling comfortable, I thought it was taking too long, so I went over to my angle grinder. I have a Kutzall fine, or might be medium, sanding disc on there. And this makes short work of it. Now, the only problem is you have to be very careful because it takes off a lot of material. And there are actually two lines that were drawn on there that you can kind of see. You can see where I marked out the carve, and then on the side of the body, you can see how deep I wanted that to go. I probably could have gone deeper. I probably could have gone more dramatic with that carve, but that was as comfortable as I felt going with this particular guitar. I've never done, my own body shape before, so I wanted to be a little bit more conservative with it. And here we go back to the Shinto rasp. I think I'm using the fine side of it, and now I'm using some sandpaper from the spindle sander to kind of tidy up what that carve feels like. And here I break out the plunge router, and I'm freehanding this, which I don't recommend. But I needed a cavity for a battery because I'm going to put the Fishman Fluence Tosinabasi pickups in there. So that requires a 9-volt battery, active pickups, and all that. And we're back to the angle grinder here, looking at the backside, a carve for the neck transition. Again, angle grinder makes short work of it, but it really takes off a lot quickly, and if you're not comfortable with your use of it, it can be a bit sloppy, as mine kind of is a little bit. It also leaves deep grooves, so it takes a bit of sanding to clean that up, but no problem sanding. This is a small random orbital. It's not a great one. It's kind of a cheapo, but it was my first one. It is my first one. And I think at some point I might upgrade. It's not great, but it gets the job done. here I'm going in and just trying to get the tiniest bit of round over, so it's a little more comfortable. Doing this primarily for comfort and access to those upper frets. It's a little bit sloppy, but again, it gets the job done. And here, doing some carves on the body. I put that protective, I don't know what to call it, paper down underneath it so that it wouldn't move much. I'm using a towel so that the clamp doesn't harm the wood at all, doesn't dig into it or anything. And here I'm just using the fine side of the Shinto rasp to refine this carve. This is just a design carve. I wanted to reveal some of the sapele that's underneath this sycamore top. I think sapele is an absolutely gorgeous wood. Contrasts great. I like it more than mahogany, which is, you know, the more traditional woods that you would see is like a maple top with mahogany body. Nothing against mahogany. I just really like the look of sapele. And these carves, since they're going to be a bit more visible, I'm just going and actually using the Shinto rasp. I did not use the angle grinder for any of these. I wanted to have much finer control over what I was doing. I think I could have gone even more dramatic with these carves and exposed more of the sapele, but at the same time, this is the first time I'd ever done this, so I wanted to be a little bit more conservative in what I tried to accomplish, thinking that it might not come out the way I want it. So there it is. Get a nice look at that reveal. I probably should have taken that all the way to the center point. You can kind of see the center line where the body is joined together. It's a two-piece body, two-piece sycamore top. But looking pretty good. And here, I thought I'd use my bandsaw to cut off the top from one of the offcuts. I wanted to use this, I think, as a headstock veneer. And it was a little difficult to work with to do this. I definitely don't have the right blade, so I ended up having to flip it over onto the other side. I was getting quite a bit of wandering from the blade. I know that some of that might be set up, but I think it was the blade that I have is not meant for this. I think I need a resaw blade. And here you can see the big wander that I got right in there, rendering, you know, a majority of that pretty unusable for what I had intended. And here we're just going on with a coat of vinyl sanding sealer. Nothing special here, just using color tone from StewMac. I had taped off the top. I did not want to seal that because I do intend on staining the top, but the back I do not intend on staining, and I don't want to get any stain on it either. So hence the sanding sealer, or the vinyl sealer, so that any stain that might get onto it will not stick to it, and I could even sand a little bit and not go through all the way. I think I did 2 coats of this, and man, it looks real shiny. I love the way the sapele grain looks in that in both those comfort carves. I just think that's a beautiful piece of wood there. Again, everybody does these tape reveals, and they go a lot better than mine do. But you can also hear one of my kids listening to music and whistling in the background, which is a funny thing because I can't whistle. So here now, after I've put the sanding sealer on the sapele, now I'm taping off the sapele so that I only get stain on the sycamore top. It's painstakingly slow, so let's speed it up. So I put a little bit of, I'm doing a little bit of raising the grain here. You can see the top is a little bit wet. I sprayed it with a little bit of water, and now I'm scuffing it with, I think this is a 3M pad, the equivalent of 320 grit. And just to clean it off once more after all that, a little bit of naphtha. Those grain lines running vertical that are slightly brown are just part of the wood grain pattern. It's really great. I'm a little upset that ultimately the stain method that I chose kind of hid them rather than showed them off. But I'm also very happy with the results that I got from the staining process, which we're going to get into here a little bit. First, a bit of black, and as far as stains go, I'm using Crimson Stunning Stain Shots mixed with water. So, unfortunately, I don't measure much. I just, test with offcuts to see if I'm getting the shade, the exact color that I'm looking for. But man, look at how that tiger striping comes out when you put a little bit of black on there. And once I'm done putting the black on, we're going to sand that back and put the colors of stain that I'm going with over top of what's left. So here, just going back to that random orbital sander, I think I'm using 220 grit. Probably would have been a little better with 320 grit, just go a little finer. And this is probably where I should have stopped, just so that I get a little bit more of that tiger striping. But I don't know, power tools, just can't help myself and go further. But if I had stopped there, I probably would have been able to see that flaming a bit more under the stain that I got. But as it is, when we get to that point, you can see that there's still a bit of that flaming or that tiger striping. And I think it looked great as it is. Obviously, the guitar is already finished. I've used it on a couple of shows. It sounds great, but this finish work is probably came out my best so far, up to date. But in the next episode, we will get to see what that looks like. All right, well, how's that for a cliffhanger ending? You get to see a little bit of the sanding. We're going to sand that. We sanded the black back a little bit, and in the next episode, we'll finish up all the body work. We'll probably do one more episode that'll be assembly, and we'll do a following episode to that. That's just the sound test, and the very last episode I'll probably put together is a full build, which will be the official final video of the contest. Might be a little longer, we'll see. Hopefully we can cut out all the boring stuff and maybe all the mistakes. I might even follow that up with a here's where I hid the bodies episode of everything that went wrong or things I'd changed, things I did like, that sort of thing. So again, thank you for watching. Thank you for coming back. Tune in for more. Come back as many times as you like.